Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today, we're joining you from the asparagus and tofu smoothie pop-up booth that Brandon Olmsted set up across the street from the Screen Actors Guild picket line. I mean, these guys have weird dietary taste, but he's selling the heck out of these smoothies, Alan.
You really need to retire from doing any of these, Joe.
I'm trying to salute your business acumen.
I got another truckload of asparagus coming in.
No, I mean, seriously, Joe. It's kale and quinoa.
Okay.
You want to feed actors. You don't give them asparagus?
I mean, it smells funny later on, too, which is always good. So
that's where he was going.
There you go.
Oh, God.
Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Alan Gilbreth.
And another
our pal,
Sunday of toilet humor.
Absolutely. And our buddy Max over there behind the glass. Of course, I mean, Brandon, we're going to talk about the Screen Actors Guild strike.
Right.
Okay, many people out there may say, big deal, how does this affect my life? Well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Oh, it does. You just don't realize it yet.
We all consume media and everything.
But it will.
But
that's the kicker.
I am purposely not going to over-tease. We have other notes here. Trust us, folks. We're not lacking for material, but we never know where the show's going to go. It always grows organically with a conversation like this, and I have to believe, Brandon, this Screen Actors Guild strike is going to go in directions we didn't
We had a 75-minute conversation about it yesterday.
Right. So, but Max, you have a belated, is it a feast day or a holiday that we need to acknowledge?
Holiday.
Okay.
Happy St. Swithin's Day.
Belated, right?
Belated St. Swithin's Day.
Yeah,
didn't we do that yesterday?
Well, that's why he said belated, because if you celebrate it today, we're stuck in a Bad Bill Murray movie.
Right. Did we do that yesterday? What do I hear the Sonny and Cher on the?
So originally, I thought Saint Swithin was Saint Swithin, like the SIWVEN.
Or Swithin. You said Swithin one time.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell the way you pronounced it, but it's SWITHINS. And I'm sure, Alan, I'm pretty sure I heard Saint Swithin mentioned on Rocky and Bullwinkle when I was a kid. Okay, but Max, St. Swithin's Day, it's very interesting because it kind of ties into a holiday we celebrate, right?
It ties into Bill Murray Groundhog Day. It's pretty much the British equivalent of Groundhog Day if you kind of break it down, because, well, I'll read a poem that I had read the other day.
Okay.
St. Swithin's Day, if thou dost reign, for 40 days it will remain. St. Swithin's Day, if thou be fair, for 40 days will reign nay mayor. Or in other words, it won't happen.
Saint Swithin liked rain, right? He's a British guy, right?
He was a British bishop back in the day, like around the 10th century. And the thing is around the time that he was to die, he said, "I would like to be buried in I would like to be buried in a common cemetery, so that the rains of the heavens could fall upon me and I could be amongst my people." Well, for 100 years that request was honored, and then eventually they decided, hey, let's bury saints in a little bit more of a grandiose place, like maybe a cathedral that we built in honor of him.
Right.
And let's just say that St. Swithin didn't take the transfer too well.
So he cursed him with rain or something?
And turned rain and rain for 40 days and 40 nights.
Okay, so, but you know what's interesting, Max? I was looking at the London forecast from yesterday, and man, if St. Swithin can come through, for one thing, it's gonna backfire on him, but it's gonna be a great time to visit London. Alan, it is gonna be 70 degrees, mostly sunny, with a low of 59 for the next 40 days. That ain't bad.
Mostly sunny.
I'd take those temperatures any day, bro.
Britons won't like
that.
In
Great Britain, mostly sunny, they won't know what hit them.
That's
Why won't they like? Who doesn't like that? I mean,
they like it. They just don't get it very often.
It's not natural.
They're gonna get sunburned.
Yeah.
70 degrees, mostly. That's, I think, my favorite temperatures. I don't know, about 75 degrees is a good one.
You and I work outside a lot.
Right. So.
70 to 75 is pretty good.
Okay. Well, we'd love to know how you celebrated St. Swithin's Day.
And did you do it multiple times?
Right. Well, do they have a
Bounce,
St.
chicka, bow, wow.
Swithin's Day movie like that or something?
No, because nobody over there cares.
It was Rocky and Bullwinkle, guy. It was.
Hey, well, Max, we appreciate that.
In fact, we probably know more about St. Swithin's Day than most Britons.
Yeah. Hey, I want to just throw one more thing out there because we got a minute or so. You guys, apparently, Max informed me of this too. This weekend is the 36th anniversary of the release of Die Hard, which
Technically,
surprises me.
It was 1988, not 1987.
All right, we'll do the math. Whatever it is, it's the week. What intrigued me is because for years we've been hearing the debate: is it a Christmas movie? And yet it came out in July.
Yes.
Hold on. Max, what was the year it came out?
1988.
It would be the 35th anniversary, which is a round
More
number,
noteworthy,
which is something we would celebrate.
Right.
There we go.
But the thing is, it's funny because I bet in the collective consciousness of a lot of people, they might have thought it came out around Christmas, but
no,
it was a summer blockbuster back when we had those things.
Joe,
so.
back in the day when Hollywood made a little bit more sense, they dropped movies about 3 to 4 months ahead of the holiday that they came out with. Horror movies came out at the beginning of the summer, and they did that because that way they could show it on broadcast television later on with a syndication deal around the holiday.
Well, I'm thinking of it. This would have back in the day. This would have come out on video right about Christmas, right? Because
That way you could
they
sell
did about a
those
5 or 6
CDs.
month lead.
Right.
Yeah.
Sell those DVDs.
Well, I mean, in that day, it would be, hey, I got to
Go
make
to
sure that I've got the hookup on the black box so I can watch my illegal HBO.
Okay,
Yep.
so you guys know things, and
Yeah.
is this where Christmas in July came from? Is this
No.
what came first?
Christmas
Die
in
Hard?
Christmas in July came well before Die Hard.
And
Okay.
technically, what came before Die Hard was the thriller novel Nothing Lasts Forever, which is what it was based off of.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if you've ever read that book, you're going to think to yourself, how did this movie ever get made? Because that's not an enjoyable slog. But no, Joe, that basically means that you've got 6 months left in the year. Your final holiday is Christmas. You need to start prepping now.
Okay, so don't drag your and let's face
Right.
it, it's just a way to sell things and all
Absolutely.
that. So, but I'm curious who started it.
there-
It obviously
Home Depot has an Arbor Day sale. It's all about commerce.
okay. I don't even know what Arbor Day is. That's for
Trees.
plants,
Trees.
right?
Trees,
Okay.
dude.
All right. Hey, but interesting historical stuff we're learning here on Geek Tank. But we're living through a little history right now, Brandon.
Yes, we
the
are.
Screen Actors Guild strike. It's different from one perspective because it's involving a lot of topics, including artificial intelligence and the role that's going to play in storytelling. And you better believe we're going to unpack that when we come back next on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. These guys owe Jabba the Hutt a lot of money. The Geek Patrol is back.
I got it worked out, you guys. We're good.
You do that.
That's okay. We already told him you're the one who dumped the spice.
I'm loaning him my house for a weekend, and anyway. Hey, anyway, welcome back to. I don't know what he's going to do to the place, but
Then you get one of those new fancy toilets. We'll find out.
yeah. Welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And Brandon, we are living through historic times, and it's not okay. We've had strikes in the past, but I think the nature of the strike. Okay, so we've had the writers, Hollywood writers, go on strike. We're 3 weeks into that strike, and now
No, we're about 5 weeks into that strike.
5 weeks. Okay, now the actors have gone on strike.
Right.
Well,
which is actually 2 weeks later than they were originally intending to, because they brought in federal mediators and allowed them to extend the negotiations, and we see how well that went.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of the last time. And Brandon, I don't pay attention to the minutia. I know you're very good with the details on this, but I do know that the nature of what they're trying to what they're complaining about is different, and I mean it involves all sorts of things that to me don't seem like they're going to be easy to rectify. I don't know how long this strike's going to go on for. I mean,
they're saying upwards of 6 months.
I don't doubt it.
You know,
I mean, there's a lot of
that's,
things to.
and that's just the actors. What they're the guessing is right now. Nobody can tell for sure. It'll really all depend on. Honestly, it's going to depend on signups for streaming services over the next few months. So
Wait, what?
All
How
right,
does
so
that
check
connect?
this out. Check this out. One of the biggest problems that's going on right now is the fact that the writers and the actors are all looking for those residuals they lost when things went from being syndicated or just being shown as reruns on network television to being licensed to a streaming service where they don't get any residuals, any kind of compensation for the number of times it is viewed or how long it's on those streaming services. That was one of the big things that they wanted, is because
that's interesting.
So
people
check
are
it
probably
out.
watching it more on
yeah.
streaming.
So check it out.
Yeah.
We given who we've got, coming in November, we're going to go ahead and talk about Parks and Rec.
Okay.
You've got an amazing cast on there. But the higher ups and the executives, the producers, the main, the main regular cast would get residuals from these shows if they're, let's say it was showing on, Channel 30 in the afternoon or TBS at night. Instead, NBC brokered a deal with Netflix, who held on to it for about 4 years. And then when that contract was up, it moved over to Peacock, which is NBC's own streaming service right now.
Yeah.
The great minds behind all this, the corporate greed, basically said, "Hey, we do this stuff with streaming licensing. That's not held in the contract with SAG-AFTRA. That's not held in the contract with the WGA. We don't have to pay residuals on that."
Even though, like The Office, more people watched The Office once it was on Netflix than they ever watched it during.
Right.
I mean, and they had billions of downloads, and yet they're getting nothing for it.
The same with like Friends and
Right.
Big Bang Theory over on HBO Max.
Right.
These shows,
that's pretty dirty.
I mean, it's underhanded, but that's one of the many things that they're looking at. Right now, though, they say that one of the biggest holdouts as far as negotiations is Netflix. But if they start losing subscribers and they start seeing, if people are going, pulling away from there, they're going to realize, man, we may need to bring these folks back so we have new content in order to we need to go back to the table and negotiate. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, live radio, sometimes there's a sneeze.
Well, you just made me think of something I never thought before, but go ahead, Brandon.
One of the other big things, and this is something that we talked about for quite a while yesterday off the air, and we've talked about on the show plenty of times, and that's the use of AI. They are trying to make sure that AI doesn't come along and replace your writers and replace your actors just completely. Disney actually put a proposal out to SAG-AFTRA in the midst of these negotiations to take, the background players, the dailies, and basically when they come in to do a scene, rather than pay them the $50 to $200 a day and keep bringing them in as long as they need them for that continuity, they bring them in, they scan them, they get a nominal fee at the beginning, and then they never have to call that person in again because they can just use AI or your digital guys to just put it in there and then hold on to that person's likeness forever.
So they got the digital Alan Gilbreth, and they can drop him on you can be the background player on one show, you can be the crowd guy, you could be the mad scientist on another one. You only got paid for one.
Yeah.
One.
And you know that Alan that would just make Alan burn down a studio.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of burning down studios, we need to talk about Ron Perlman here in a little while, but we're going to go ahead and
I do want to, because I know Alan wants to wait. I just want to circle back. Don't let me forget. I have something where I'm actually almost going to take the side of the executives. I hate to say it, but go ahead. Just playing devil's advocate. No, it's just a point you brought up. So
all right. Well, look at your evolution of technology on this. At first, if you wanted a crowd, you went to Metro Goldwyn Mayer and they're going to do Cleopatra. You went and hired 5,000 extras, and you had basically Extra City. Mm-hmm. And, when you wanted a cheering crowd, you had 1 million of them.
Right.
And then we got painting on glass. Welcome to Albert Whitlock. So if we didn't have a harbor with a ship, congratulations. You blocked it out, and he would paint you a harbor with a ship. Then we snuck past Star Wars a little bit, where again, Albert in his painted glass gave us amazing vistas, and CGI got started. Now we're going to roll up to Fellowship of the Rings and all that, and we only have 40 extras dressed up in battle garb, but we're going to record those 40 extras, and we're going to multiply them into an army of millions.
Yeah, so you're playing
So
50 rolls instead of one.
So in less than 70 years, we went from 5,000 extras down to about 40. And now, to be perfectly honest, with an AI generator, we don't need them.
This isn't going to be an easy thing to rectify, though. I mean, there's a can of worms because of this AI stuff, and just the way content is created and the way it's distributed is throwing a wrench into a lot of things. That's a perfect segue, because I'm going to take the side of the executives when we come back and throw it out to the table. So you're listening to Geek Tank Radio. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Even the Riddler can't figure this show out. The Geek Patrol is back.
And we take great pride in that fact. Hopefully the listeners aren't in that same boat.
Riddle me this. Why are my ears bleeding?
Yeah. Easy answer. Hey, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Alan Gilbreth and Max Behind the Glass and Brandon Olmstead, who I'm not looking at because sometimes they're not all home runs, and when it's not, Brandon lets me know.
You haven't even hit a double yet.
We're waiting on something other than a bunt.
You're literally getting tagged out between first and second, dude.
I just can't let go of the goofy rejoiners, and I never will. You'd have to pry them from my cold, dead hands. Hey,
we accept that challenge.
Okay.
If that's how it's got to go, I'll just replace you with AI.
There we go. Hey, okay, so before the break, and obviously,
what's funnier?
What's the hot topic? We're talking about the Screen Actors Guild strike in couple with the writers' strike of Hollywood. Now, you guys, I will say one thing. You always, both of you guys, and including Max, you get me thinking about stuff.
And we apologize to the audience because it's never a pretty sight.
Well, Brandon, I had a revelation that makes, I'm never going to side with these greedy executives that basically starve out the artists. And so, our tendency is to side with artists and creatives. I mean, even Meryl Streep, who gets on my nerves, I'm like, okay, she's an artist, pay her for what she's worth, that type of thing. However, you made me think of something. Okay, the argument now is that, we have shows. The Office is a perfect example because The Office came out and it was on, whatever night, Thursday night. Then it got syndicated, and then it really blew up when it went on streaming services, when it went on Netflix. Okay, well, Brandon, if you're the person, you talked about residuals,
right?
You get paid. Okay, well, if you syndicate a show that, let's suppose you syndicate it in, Orlando or something, they're paying you. You have a verifiable source of income, and you have it's on one day, whatever it is. So what I'm saying is tracking the money and distributing it is easier. When you're talking about streaming, it could be streamed a billion times. How do you distribute the money?
This is the point where we talk about the fact that you don't know what you're talking about, and I'm going to go ahead and lay this out for you.
Well, that's what I want. I'm trying to figure it out.
Residuals come from the licensing agreement. There's a licensing agreement with, WGX TV Channel 30 down in Tacoma.
Okay.
All right. Every time you renew that license, money comes in, residuals go out. You do the same thing with a streaming service. You do a licensing deal, but instead of giving out the residuals, because it doesn't fall under the typical contract they had before, the studio keeps all that money.
I'm not saying they should keep it. What I'm saying is, how do you distribute? How do you predict how many people are going to watch it?
That's the thing. Those numbers are predicted in advance and put into the licensing agreement that the studios then get the money for. But because it doesn't fall under the syndication clause in the original Actors Guild contract and the original WGA contracts, because it's not a syndicated show that will be, fronted by advertisements, the studio gets to keep all that money. They shouldn't.
Right.
But that's the thing. It doesn't matter how many times it's viewed, just like it doesn't matter how many times somebody actually sits down and watches the 4 hours worth of Bones that is on Cozy TV. That is paid for because of the advertisers. That is paid for from the residuals. Most of your streaming services have an ad-based system. Netflix even has a commercial ad-based system now. Money could be brought from that ad revenue to give out the residuals that would have originally been given out if it was a syndicated show, which is why they're going for that. Netflix doesn't want to give it out. Bob Iger's, over at Disney, he doesn't want to give it out. He even says that the actors and the writers are unrealistic in what they're asking for. Meanwhile, he's getting paid $26 million to sit on his butt and fire people. I'm sorry.
And say no to things, right?
And basically aggravate certain actors so far that they've already, done videos talking about karma and knowing where he lives and burning his house down.
Is this a result of, because streaming is still a fairly new animal in technology? I mean, it's not. It's kind of new.
This has nothing to do with whether or not it's a new animal. They've known that this could be done for a while. Actors and writers and directors have been trying to get these residuals for the last 3 or 4 negotiations. They can't, they won't come off of it. Usually it's like you want to make sure that your people keep working, but we are now at a point where, the writers' rooms, you have a series coming to streaming. They don't do the 22 episodes a writer's room would normally be paid for to do it. They have you at home by yourself. You might be able to do a Zoom call with other writers who are working on an episode. You have 8 to 10 episodes, so you're already getting your pay cut in half. And now where a writer's room used to be like 6 to 12 people is now like 4.
And to me, that zaps the creativity, because you need people
you need
exchanging
to be able to bounce
ideas
things off of each other.
Yeah.
And let's just be honest. We went through the pandemic. We all went through Zoom meetings. You can't get as much of a true, reaction when you're on a Zoom meeting.
No.
It doesn't work. That's
doesn't.
the reason why our kids fell behind while the schools were closed. I understand. I completely agree with closing things down, but it doesn't work as well as it could have.
Yeah. And let's face it, if you're a studio and you don't have to pay for office space or for a meeting room for the writers.
But somehow that money goes into people like David Zaslav's pocket, Bob Iger's pocket, or Bob Chapek's, back at that point. These guys, they don't care about the writers. Somebody has already been quoted as saying that they are going to extend the writers' strike until the writers start losing their homes, so that they have to give up.
Man.
And you know what? I think it's time to realize these writers, these actors and everything, they can keep that strike going, but they can also find other forms of income.
Yeah.
Those guys who are used to getting that $26 million payoff, they aren't making any profits from the studios because they don't have anything to put out. They're not going to be getting their money either.
We're already in a climate where people don't go to the movies as often as they used to anyway.
Yeah.
Is this the kind of thing that could just finally, we learned during COVID that you can live without going to the theater. Well, is this just going to slam the door on all that stuff? Or
I don't think the artists of the world will let that happen, or at least they'll try not to.
I don't know.
But they're already,
if it goes on too
they're
long,
already
right?
encouraging you to go see live productions.
Wait, live production? You talking about
like actual like Broadway plays? And
I was
going to
say, okay, that's what they're saying. That's interesting. So, all right, there's more to discuss, and we're going to do it when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Muppets hate these guys. The Geek Patrol is back.
That's a lot of people are ticked off at us, right? I don't know what you did to them. Alan.
I have a Muppet.
You're
He
their
loves
biggest
me.
fan. I
was fixing to say, no, it's you talking bad about them, and they just associate us with you.
Well, they can keep it to themselves. They don't have to,
No, apparently
No,
not.
they can't. They have their own show.
okay.
They make more money than we do.
Yeah, they do.
No kidding. Now, are they on strike? Do Muppets fall under the... okay.
Well-
Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And we're joining the debate that's going on today about the Screen Actors Guild strike and the writers' strike.
Is
And
it a debate?
we almost need 2 hours. Well, I don't know. Well, they're debating. They're trying to settle their differences.
No, they're not debating. They're picketing. There's a huge difference.
Okay.
They walked away from the table.
They debated a while back, and you just said the one thing I'm gonna comment on, Brandon.
Yep.
All right. It's a phrase called DOS, denial of service.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And all sides in this are really trying to use that as a weapon.
Right. Yeah.
So you, the writer, I don't care because you're not writing, I'm not paying you. You, the actor, you're not acting, so I'm not paying you. You, the service, the streaming service, well, there's a problem that comes in there because I'm not selling you anything new, so you're not paying me. So denial of service has a way of cycling back around, and this is one of those pivotal moments where technology, for good or ill, is changing the industry. And I remember when Titanic came out and the dollar amount attached to it and the number of people watching the market really banking on Titanic to, well, not float. And
Really?
Titanic, the movie, was $100 million to make. And we're still talking about what a great movie it is and debating it. And, it made some bank.
It also proved one thing that America always seems to forget. Never underestimate the power of teenage commerce. Mm-hmm. Because teen girls who loved that movie went and saw it daily.
Oh,
3.5 hours sitting in a theater every day to watch Titanic for 3 to 4 months.
I think I saw it 3 times in the theater.
So Titanic was
one was enough for me because I like to get the big drink. And when you got that much water, you don't want to damage
really
yourself.
makes
you gotta go. So, here this movie came. Here it was a massive change, but it was the $100 million movie. Now, let's fast forward to today, and a $100 million movie is not even newsworthy.
No.
So the dollar amounts are massive. The stakes are massive. And technology has once again thrown another monkey wrench in all of this. And the landscape, I'm afraid, is irreparably going to change as a result
and it
of
changes
this.
frequently. Technology evolves every 3 or 4 years. We get something new thrown into
but
the
now
mix.
the human technology is having to adapt to it, and we're now caught in a cycle of denial of service.
Well, and the thing is, like you said, I mean, we learned during COVID you can live without going to the movies, and a lot of people have not gone back. And if you push it too far, people will go, well, we can kind of live without Hollywood. I hate to say it. So I don't know. I don't know where I fall with this. But I think those executives are obviously just cutting deals that are pretty rotten. So.
I got news for you. If I were a movie producer in another country, I would be getting on this.
Yeah, start cranking out your own content.
So House of the Dragon, which is it's an HBO show. It's a prequel to Game of Thrones, is still in production. It didn't have to shut down because the actors involved in it are equity members. They are part of the union in the United Kingdom.
Oh, interesting.
They aren't part of SAG-AFTRA, so they are continuing to work. Meanwhile, it's like the way that they shut down everything. The actors all got up out of their seats at the premiere of Oppenheimer an hour into the movie and walked out.
Oh, because that's when the strike kicked in, right?
The strike kicked in. They left. Mm-hmm. And here we've got people now who are part of the SAG-AFTRA who are telling you it's like, hey, we can't promote our movies, so studios are going to lose money left and right. I mean, we already have an abysmal box office right now. The Flash, which the WB was basically putting all their eggs into that basket, is losing the studio over $100 million. This is the biggest loss that Warner Brothers has ever had in their 100-year history.
Yeah.
We already are done, just shelling out our money left and right to anything that you throw on the screen.
Yeah.
Now you're going to, so they're already hurting. If you don't have the content, though, to sell to the services, we've seen Netflix will bring in things like from Korea, with Squid Game and there's like 1,000 different things that are filmed in Europe that are on Netflix right now that, it's just.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. As consumers of media, Alan said it. I mean, if you're a foreign filmmaker, why not take advantage? It's like, okay, well, it opens it up for us, and maybe we'll actually get better content.
Maybe maybe the mainstream will get it more of the affected to see anime as the quality production piece that it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I just think it's interesting.
Max is nailing it right there, though, with the fact that people are going to search out. They're going to search out content,
right?
And that's why the next couple of months, as far as streaming services go, they've got to keep a look on the numbers. If more people cancel their Netflix
and then
subscription
go to Crunchyroll,
to go to Crunchyroll than are signing up for Netflix because they're searching out content. Netflix will come back to the table. Disney Plus will come back to the table. You know, Iger just said, you know, it's like our biggest problem, you know, the shows we're doing for the streaming service are you know, they're taking away from the films. But those streaming numbers are what you need to look into.
Well, that's where the money comes. That's where the revenue comes from.
And the thing is if you want that revenue to keep growing, you need to make sure that the people creating your content are taken care of.
So, in other words, we're not seeing a quick resolution to this, right?
No.
We're going to see this drag out for a while.
Like I said, you know, 6 months easy.
Okay, very interesting. So that's what we have to look forward to, you guys.
And we'll keep you updated, guys, as more stuff comes in. But, yeah, it's going to be kind of bleak.
Okay. Well, good sign off. But whatever it is, it's over because we're out of time, you guys. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Ellen Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And until I can replace these guys with an AI of my own, I'm Brandon Olmstead.